what literature teaches us about loneliness. We often think of loneliness as something shameful, a flaw, a failure, something to be fixed as fast as possible. But literature has always known the truth, that loneliness isn't just emptiness, it's evidence of depth. It is the sound of a soul trying to hear itself again. Literature is born from loneliness. Almost every great novel begins with someone alone, a character disconnected, misunderstood, unseen. In The Catcher in the Rye, Holden wanders through New York, angry and bitter, but mostly just lonely. In Frankenstein, the monster begs for love, not out of violence, but out of deep isolation. In Norwegian Wood, Murakami writes loneliness so quietly, it feels like snowfall. Why do writers keep returning to loneliness? Because it's real, because it's universal, and because when we are alone, we begin to listen to our pain, our dreams, our forgotten hopes. Literature validates loneliness. Literature teaches us that loneliness doesn't make us broken, it makes us human. When we read someone else's loneliness, we feel less alone in our own. Anne Sexton once said, "Poetry is my sickness, but it's also my medicine." For readers, stories become mirrors. Even when the mirror shows sadness, it reminds us that our sadness is shared, that we're not strange for feeling disconnected, that someone, somewhere, maybe long dead, once felt this too. And they wrote it down. For us. So we could survive our own version of it. Literature gives shape to feelings we can't name. Loneliness isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet ache, the feeling of being surrounded but unseen, of scrolling endlessly and feeling emptier with each swipe. Writers find words for the silence we carry. They give shape to things we can't describe. Virginia Woolf didn't just describe loneliness, she dissected it. In Mrs. Dalloway, every character walks through crowds, smiling, talking, while silently drowning in their own minds. Woolf gives us permission to admit, sometimes it's lonelier in a room full of people than in complete solitude. Literature teaches us that our contradictions, feeling full and empty, loved and unseen, are not signs of weakness. They are proof of depth. Literature reminds us that loneliness isn't permanent. There's another lesson literature offers, one we often forget when we're hurting, that loneliness is not forever. It moves. It transforms into music, letters, poems, novels, and sometimes connection. Jane Austen's characters begin alone, but they end in companionship. Even Kafka, who wrote of alienation and despair, managed to create a body of work so intimate that generations feel closer to him than he ever did to anyone in his lifetime. Writing and reading doesn't always cure loneliness, but it changes it. It turns it into meaning, into beauty, into something we can carry with gentleness. Loneliness as a doorway. What if loneliness isn't a wall, but a doorway? What if it's an invitation to come home to yourself? So many characters in literature begin searching outwards for lovers, for friends, for answers. But the real transformation happens when they stop running and start listening to their pain, to their needs, to their truth. In solitude, we meet ourselves again. And when we do, connection becomes richer. Not a way to fill a hole, but a way to share our wholeness. So, if you're feeling lonely, remember this. You are not the first to carry this ache. Somewhere in a dusty book or a quiet poem, someone wrote the very thing you're feeling now. And they survived it. And so will you. Loneliness hurts, but it's also a signal that you're alive, that you're awake, that you are even in this moment, deeply, beautifully human. For those who feel alone, literature is waiting for you. Subscribe for more quiet reflections. You're not alone here.